Hi, and welcome to my very first knitting podcast. I am Shannon, and I'm wearing all the things. I just wanted to be part of the podcast community, and it looks really fun, and I love all the fun podcasts that I've watched so far. And I'm always knitting, and I thought maybe someone would care about my stuff too. I'm gonna try not to say bad words, but who knows if that'll work out, because I do have a bit of a potty mouth. So if your children are nearby, maybe go get them a snack. Or children, listen. Swearing has a time and a place, and you just gotta make sure that you choose that wisely. And sometimes it'll be a knitting podcast. So here we are, first one. And so a little bit about myself. Show notes on a pad that I got from my last field trip to the alpaca farm, where I got some fun yarn. No, I actually did not get any yarn from there, but we then went to a local yarn shop after the alpaca farm and I got lots of fun yarn. Okay, so a little bit about me. I am hailing from Vancouver, Canada, technically Burnaby, which is a suburb of Vancouver, but guys, I'm 2 blocks off the boundary road, so I always just say Vancouver for sake of ease, and people around here are snobs about where you live, so I tend to just stick to saying Vancouver. And I lived here for 4 years. I grew up in Alberta, born and raised, and my husband and my daughter and I moved here 4 years ago, and my husband and I have our own business. My daughter is homeschooled, which makes me sound, I don't know, weird and stuffy and bizarre, and I get it if you automatically have this picture of what a homeschooling parent / family looks like in your head, but I promise you we are not that. Well, actually maybe we are. Maybe that's not even a bad thing. I used to have a lot of prejudices against homeschoolers until I became one, which is only, I think it's 2 years now that my daughter's been home. Anyways, and we are an RV family, so we travel in our RV a lot throughout the year because we can, because we work from the road, and my daughter learns from the road, and our dogs dog from the road, so that's fun. And what else about me? Did I say I'm a writer and a content strategist? So I write for myself personally on my blog, truthfully.ca, and I write for clients, website copy, and I'm a content strategist, which is planning for your website. We have 2 dogs. I personally have been knitting as in, like, what else would I say about that? I have been knitting since 2003. My friend Cindy, who I'm still good friends with, taught me the basics, and then I just ran with it. I made some crappy acrylic scarves that did not turn out, and I even made my friend a belt, which she very graciously wore at least once to school. I'm a former teacher. I taught for 10 years in the public system. She was my principal at the time, so she wore it. And yeah, I learned quickly that I'm a very impatient, non-detailed knitter, meaning that one of the first big projects I took on was, I'm panicking like I have to hurry up. Whereas I don't have to hurry up, because this is a podcast, and if you don't want to listen, you just shut it off, right? Or fast forward or whatever. Okay, perfect. So relax, Shannon. Okay, so back to the impatience. So one of the very first big projects that I took on, what it's actually behind me, maybe someday I'll show you, is a dress for like a 2-year-old. And I got 85% done that dress, and I had already lost interest. So that's sitting unfinished, and that made me think I will never knit anything big. So mostly I'm an accessories knitter. I stick to toques. I do lots of toques. This is my very first shawl. What else have I done? Scarves, cowls, lots of cowls, but mostly toques. And then 2 years ago, I joined a local knitting club that meets at a Starbucks just 2 blocks away from me. And they all knit the most beautiful things. And of course, they taught me tons about yarn. I didn't know anything beyond the yarn you could get at Michael's and Walmart. I'm pretty picky about my yarn now. And anyways, so yeah, they were knitting the most beautiful things, and there's this one knitter especially who knits like sweater after sweater after sweater, and she's also a fashion designer, so as you can imagine, it's very just beautiful stuff that she produces. And I thought, maybe I should give it a try. So a year and a half ago, I knit my very first sweater, and it was the Tin Can Knits. I can't remember the line, but it's that simple, I think. It's the one where it's like there's always a chunk of words are hard, you guys. There's always a chunk of that whatever this is called, because it's not coming to my mind, where it's like knit, purl. So I knit that sweater, and I was very pleased with it. I took off my mitten socks because I was getting hot. And then I cast on for another sweater right after that, and that was probably over a year ago, and I haven't picked up. I've only knit like the ribbing on the bottom of the sweater. So who knows if I'll ever get back to that. But in the meantime, I've knit tons of other accessories. But I'm also a bit of a seasonal knitter, and I'm hoping that this podcast will help me get out of that habit, because what happens is I knit through the winter, and then somewhere early spring, I just burn out on it. I lose interest. I don't know if it's the weather or if I just really burn out on it mentally, but I just put my knitting down and I tend not to pick it up again until fall. So, and then I go MIA from my knitting club as well, which kind of is crummy because I miss them. I really like all the people there. So yeah, I'm hoping that this podcast will help that a little bit and keep me knitting all year long. And also, I knit my first pair of socks a year ago, actually, and then I knit my second pair of socks exactly a year later, just before Christmas this year. And then I knit my third pair of socks right after that, and my fourth pair I gave to my third pair I gave to my friend, and my fourth pair are on my needles right now, and I see myself becoming engrossed in socks because I've now got a whole bunch of sock yarn lined up and that I'm really excited about. I've learned a lot about heels and toes, and I am a 2 at a time toe up magic loop sock knitter. The last pair of socks that I knit, actually I knit 1 at a time. I'm wearing them right now, and they are funky because the first pair I did not like the heel style because it felt complicated to me. And so the next one I thought, oh well, I'll just, tweak it a bit, and it turned out completely different. So but because I'm the type of knitter who refuses to like frog and do any kinds of those, I'm just gonna live with it. I'm gonna live with the 2 wonky socks. And I call that personality. I knit my own personality into the things I knit. I give away a lot of my knitting, and I often give away my knitting with mistakes in it because I'm not great at fixing. I'm just sort of learning how to fix mistakes. But so far I haven't done much about fixing my mistakes, so I tend to give things away with mistakes in them, not like huge, garish, awful, like the item that I give away is still very beautiful. But I like to call those mistakes my personality. I just have knit my own handcrafted personality into the thing, and the person who receives it is always reminded, if they can even find the mistake, that it was knit by me, and it's very obvious because there's a mistake in it. And it's just things like knitting a thing I should have purled, or slipping a stitch that I shouldn't have. I don't know. Little tiny things that you tend not to be able to notice. I still feel like I need needing to rush. Okay. So those are things about me. I very quickly taught myself how to knit on circulars because I realized that with all of the toques I was producing, I hated seaming them up. This is what I mean about a lazy knitter. I did not like it at all. I would get done a toque and just feel like, oh, now I have to seam it up. And plus it just felt like I didn't know how to do it very well, and so I felt like it ended up ruining the toque. So yes, I quickly taught myself how to learn on circular needles, and I believe that is why I am drawn to the 2 at a time toe up magic loop ways, because there just is 0 seaming to be done. And a lot of my friends who do socks top down say, well, put that what's that stitch called? Not the mattress stitch, anyways, whatever stitch you do at the toe. They're like, it's so fun. And I'm like, not for me. No, it isn't. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to seam a thing up if I don't have to seam a thing up. So that's me. I am completely out of breath, as if I just ran up the stairs a couple times because I am so rushing myself. Okay, so let's move on to finished objects. So a couple of the finished objects I'm about to show you are actually really old finished objects. I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things I've knit, and some of them are my favorite things. So for instance, try to go chronological here. I believe that, okay, so these are my very, very first pair of socks. I knit them, this is turtle pearl yarn that I got when I was visiting a friend in Toronto, and we knit our first pair of socks together. She lives in Toronto, and we went to the store and cast on everything together, and then we had this pattern that we were reading that said it was very simple, but it was horrible, and so we ended up actually looking for a video, and so we found a 4-part video tutorial, and I'm trying to remember what the tutorial was. Anyways, so she taught us how, I think she did Judy's magic loop cast on, so that's what this is. And then I don't even remember what she called the heel, but it was you would like slip stitches off and put them on stitch holders and then work back and forth, and then you ended up like putting those stitches back on the needles. So I have no idea what the heel is called. She didn't name it, she just showed us how to do it. and so it's just your pretty standard, I guess it would be called a short row heel, but other short row heels that I've seen don't use that stitch marker method, like where you actually take it off the needle. So I'm pretty pleased with how my very first pair of socks turned out. And like I said, I knit these about a year ago. And my second pair of socks are actually just out there drying. So maybe I'll show those to you next time. They are my daughter's. I gave them to her. And then, like I said, my third pair of socks I gave away to my friend because we were visiting Alberta and I was finishing them up, and she is my friend who taught me how to knit, actually. I guess I'll show you the pair that I have on. And like I said, they're two. So this is the other pair, and I cannot remember what yarn this is. It's not even on the top of my mind, but it's fun because I'm wearing like a black and red and brown, and yesterday had on a purple cardigan, and they kind of go with everything. Are you still here? Are you still with me? You stayed? Yay. I guess the next thing chronologically would be this toque, and this is a slouchy toque that my friend saw in a window in a local yarn shop, and I wear this toque a lot. It's in I'm wearing it in a profile picture on a couple of social media channels. It's called the Misky hat, and because I put all my projects on Ravelry. I'm just Shannon Fisher on Ravelry with no C. Shannon Fisher with no C. So that's that toque. Those are those socks. And then the next thing would probably be this toque, which is the Asardina toque. You can see where I carried the yarn up inside, which that's not very, I don't know, I would definitely do that differently. I've never done anything, yeah, anyways, that's just one of those things where probably a lot of knitters would not be pleased with that and frog it, or, you know, find a way to fix it. And I'm just like, it just says Shannon. It's got Shannon written all over it. It just says that I knit it, and I'm a hot mess, and so are the things I make, and that's just the way it goes. But my daughter tends to wear this toque a lot. And then the next thing I made would be these slippers. I wanted to make some slippers, and they are called just the non-felted slippers on Rav, and I think they're a free pattern. I do like how they turned out, but they're 100% wool, so I probably need to put something on the bottom to protect them. But the one thing I don't like about them is I didn't cast off a stretchy cast off, so they don't stretch with the Knit Picks wool of the Andes. So they're really super cute, and if I ever get that bottom put on them, I will probably wear these. And then the next thing I probably knit was this shawl, and this is Among the Shadows. It's just a really simple pattern. It's got like a big chunk of that pattern that I cannot think of. What, you guys, what is it called? This is a local yarn called Sweet Fiber. I believe it's out in Langley. It's a yarn shop called 88 Stitches. The yarn shop's owner daughter makes this Sweet Fiber yarn, and she makes really, really beautiful yarn. it turned out beautifully, and I love it, and it's very soft, and it doesn't bother my neck at all for being wool. But the pattern, the shawl itself, I don't know. I think I maybe blocked it wrong, because when I wear it like that, curls down, and I was hoping it would be a lot longer so I could wrap it around, I don't know, more easily, like as it stands now. I don't know. And like it just kind of balls up. Maybe I need to frog my very first item. I'm not sure, because it's beautiful, beautiful yarn that is too beautiful to not be worn. The thing that came off my needles before I got into socks was just this sock head hat, which I didn't actually make very slouchy. This is like the third sock head hat I've made, but I added a little cable to it just for interest's sake. And this is made from Malabrigo Machito, it's a colorway called Jupiter. So it's really pretty. It would make a really nice shawl or sweater, actually. I have quite a bit of it left. So I don't know. But yeah, I do wish I had made this a little bit slouchier. I'm not totally sure about, I have a ponytail in, so I maybe should have prettied up for you guys a little. I didn't do my makeup or my hair or anything. Anyways, so yeah, I wish it was a little bit slouchier. I think I like the cable detailing. I don't know, it was an experiment anyways. Now I'm really a hot mess. So yeah, those are the most recent things that I've made that have come off my needles. Finished objects, if you will. And then what's on my needles right now is really only two things, unless you count that really, really old dress that I never finished. But let's just not talk about that, okay? And that sweater that I started that may never finish also. And then there's this hue shift afghan that my daughter was actually supposed to make. I got this kit from Knit Picks for her to make, because she actually she made 2 toques and a really beautiful cowl, and she really seemed super into knitting. So I thought, oh hey, I think she saw I showed her the kit on Knit Picks and the pictures, and she's like, yeah, I'm totally into that. No, not into it. So I started it. Who knows if I'll ever finish it, but it's not too long ago that I started it, I don't think. I think I just started it this fall. Maybe. Anyways, the last time I worked on it at least was October. So I would like to pick that up again. And then the last thing that I have on my needles is just my most recent pair of socks, which is my first pair of worsted socks. Yes, there they are. And I like that they're actually, it seems more variegated than self-striping, but I like that it's actually striping a little bit. So yeah, and that yarn is Barocco Vintage in a color that we're not meant to know. I don't know, you guys. Sometimes I have trouble finding the things. I don't see it. Oh, it's just color 5219. Color 5219. How's that for impersonal? So yeah, vintage Barocco. And yeah, they're super chunky and they're very squishy and they look really skinny. I'm kind of wishing I had cast on a couple more on each side, but they are very stretchy. So yeah, I guess these will be like slipper socks or boot socks, or I'm not totally sure, but I'm excited because I feel like these are gonna knit up really fast. I just started them, actually just started them last night. I planned to work on them a little bit today, but then that just did not happen. So yes, I believe that's all the things for this first one for today. On the social medias, you can find me on Instagram. So someone's using Shannon Fisher on Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm Shannon Mariah, which is my middle name, as in Mariah Carey, but no, it was not named after her because she was not a thing when I was born. She probably wasn't even born. I don't even know. I should find out how old Mariah Carey is. Anyways, Shannon Mariah on Instagram, Shannon Fisher on Rav, Shannon Fisher on Twitter. My blog is truthfully.ca. Haven't written for a while, but if you Google Shannon Fisher, I don't know, you can find my writing lots of different places. I've written for Exo Jane and Huffington Post, a little publication called The Pastry Box, which I actually really loved. Good Men Project. So yes, you can follow my blog on Facebook, truthfully.ca, spelled out .dotca. And that's it. What are the other socials? Those are the ones I frequent anyways. I'm not on Twitter much. I used to be on Twitter all the time. And now I just mostly feed my Instagram pictures into Twitter. So that's kind of boring for people who use Twitter because they're like, another picture. She doesn't really interact with me though. Yeah, that's it. I think what's today? Monday? So I'll probably upload this shortly. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll do a thing every Monday or every Tuesday or whatever. Yeah, I guess I say those are all the things I can think of. I'm super excited to join the Knitters podcast, Knitters / Crafters / whatever podcast community. I'm super excited to share the things that I'm working on and any fun things that I learn, because I feel like people like me who are those sort of corner cutting type knitters, we tend to learn good tips and tricks because we're always on the lookout for what's gonna make this easier and more enjoyable. Like wraps and turns and heels, no thank you. Let's figure out a different way. I have yet to do a wrap and turn, and I hope to avoid that for eternity. So I will not do a heel that involves a wrap and turn, because that just, I guess, never say never, but seriously, that looks ridiculous when there's so many other options. Yeah, so that's it. Anyways, thanks for, if you stuck around this long, and if you did, make sure to say hi to me on Instagram. That's where I probably am the very most. I am pretty good about putting my projects on Ravelry. I don't do tons of project notes, but you know, the bare minimum, needles I use, yarn, colorway, if I did any mods, and yeah, that's about it. So I hope to see you on the socials and back again here next week.